Good morning. Happy Monday. Today we are going to pick back up with our social emotional lessons. Today is our lesson 3, and this lesson is titled Making a Plan. During this lesson, you are going to be able to give examples where self-regulation is necessary within your own life, as well as 2 other scenarios that you are going to be introduced between Tina and Frank. Here's our table of contents. Your first activity is going to be a reflection on yourself. The second activity is going to be your Tina scenario. Activity 3 is a Frank scenario. Activity 4 is you're going to pretend you have a younger sister who's having homework difficulties. And then we are going to finish up this lesson with activity 5, where you are going to be creating your own personal plan. Well, I have officially been out of the building for a week. I wanted to let you all know that I've missed seeing you in the hallways and at lunch duty. But here is our new son, Oliver. I look forward to being able to see all of you again soon, though. So today's objective is the student will demonstrate an understanding of self-regulation and its components by giving examples of situations and goals where self-regulation is necessary, and you will be able to explain why it is important to them or to you personally. As we have every lesson, please take a moment with your class and review these steps. Today we are personally working on the Make a Plan step. Also, please review what does intrapersonal mean. Please pause and discuss this as a class. All right, let's get started with our first activity. This lesson focuses on the very first component, which is making a plan. You're going to learn how to make plans that are detailed, realistic, and include ways to overcome potential obstacles in your way. Plans that have those characteristics are more likely to help people make progress towards their goals than normal plans that are vague or unrealistic. Please know that the self part of self-regulation means that you are the ones, we as ourselves are the ones who have to regulate our own behavior and actions to be able to achieve these plans. Teachers and parents can help provide support and help with the learning process, but ultimately self-regulation is a personal ability, which means that it's all on you. With that said, this is your first activity. Students in Google Classroom, it was released to you at 8 o'clock this morning. Lesson 3, Activity 1. To complete this activity, please answer these following prompts. You are going to do this on your own. You're going to be reflective and honest with yourself. There are no right or wrong answers. The purpose of this exercise is to help you understand your current approach to making plans, including identifying what you're already doing well and what you could work on improving to be just a little better at. So please read the 2 prompts below and fill those out. When you are done, your teacher will be able to move on to the next slide. So teachers, please pause until your class has completed this assignment. All right, we are moving on to activity 2. Students, this is the second page of your lesson, activity 2. This is going to be done as a classroom discussion. In activity 2, we are introduced to Tina. To complete this activity, please read the scenario below about how one student uses self-regulation and then answer the questions that follow. So first, as a class, you are going to pause the screen. You will discuss this scenario, and as a class, discuss these 4 questions. This will give you a great amount of time to be able to reflect on what Tina did correct, what she did wrong. Does she need to do anything extra? Please pause and complete this. All right, activity 3. In activity 3, you are being introduced to Frank. Students, in your assignment, you can just scroll to the next page and it is listed as activity 3 with this worksheet. Please read the scenario below and make a plan with all of that knowledge you have that Frank could use to successfully attain his goal. While completing that, Please wrap up your discussion by asking students for a show of hands. Number 1, how many of you are trying or would like to save money? Number 2, do you have a plan for saving money? And number 3, is it as detailed as Frank's plan? Activity 4. Here is the one where you have to pretend that you have a little sister. I would like to point out, though, that although we might think our goals or tasks are fairly simple and therefore only needs a little bit of a plan for accomplishing it, things are almost always more complicated and detailed than we originally think. With certain tasks that we do often, like completing our homework, we might do a lot of steps automatically without even thinking about them, or even necessarily realizing that we've done them. But we're succeeding at accomplishing the task that's not necessarily a problem. But if we're having trouble accomplishing that task successfully, it's important to think about all of those little details that we usually overlook, because they might be part of where the problem is occurring. To illustrate this point, this scenario has been given to you. It may seem pretty minor, but please work together as a class to create a very detailed plan for homework completion. On your worksheet, you have the scenario, and then you also have 16 boxes. See how many steps you and your class can come up with to plan for this homework completion on something that some of us might see as something so simple like homework completion. Some of you might be very surprised as how many steps actually go into it. Please pause and complete this part of the activity. All right, this is kind of like a cheat sheet. I would like for you to discuss these targeted questions if any of you are having any trouble with coming up with any extra steps with your sister's homework. All right, we have activity 5. Activity 5 is your last activity for this lesson. To complete this activity, you are going to plan to accomplish a goal of your own. This needs to be something that is important to you and to you only. It can be related to school, it can be related to your sports or other extracurricular activities, or it could just simply be a personal goal and something that you would like to accomplish by completing a set of action steps that are something that is purely under your own control. I'm going to read their example just because I feel like it kind of defines what I mean by this. It says, if you want to find a part-time employment, your goal should be applying for X amount of jobs rather than just stating getting a job. Because you don't have control over whether or not you get a job, but you do have control over how many applications you put in. I hope that makes sense to be able to narrow down the difference between setting an attainable goal of something that you can control over setting up a goal that is something that is out of your control but in somebody else's hands. As you write your plan, please keep in mind that a good plan is going to address these questions right here. You are going to be able to use this plan over the next few weeks and in future lessons that you are going to work on how to monitor this plan, adjust it as needed when things are not going as planned, and you're going to be reflecting on your efforts and progress towards accomplishing this plan. Just like the plans you wrote as a class for Frank to help save him money, and the plan of helping your sibling who wanted to help getting homework done on time, your plan should also be just as detailed, including a realistic timeline, the steps that you are going to need to do along the way, and a list of potential barriers or obstacles that you may encounter, along with the strategies that you're going to use to overcome those barriers or obstacles. So please take some time now and begin to brainstorm on what your goal is going to be. Feel free to use the space here or get out another piece of paper and get started on writing down different goals. After that, you are going to complete the plan section, and then address the possible challenges and different ways to address them. Note that this is a working plan. As I stated before, you're going to be working on this over the next several weeks. So this is just going to be a good rough draft or a good outline to be able to get started on this, to be able to create a successful plan when we are completed with these lessons. Some of these are just some questions that I'd like you to reflect on. I did state these already on the following page. However, they are very important, and I just want you to be able to reiterate how important the reflection is on these while choosing your goal. These are some common elements of self-regulation plans. I'm also going to post this in your Google Classroom so you all have access to this slide at all times. Because I am giving you access, I'm not going to read it all to you, but please make sure that you do look at this while writing your goal. Use it as a cheat sheet to help you throughout the next couple of weeks in the process of your goal writing. Once your rough draft is completed, please partner up and share what you have written with somebody beside you. Ask your partner for suggestions in improving your plan. Use the following 6, kind of made a situation here. There's only 6. Ask them and reflect with them on how you can help each other with your goals. This is going to be very essential because sometimes you really do just need somebody else that's not related with your goal to look in on it, to be able to give you some insight of maybe some things that you aren't noticing or seeing yourself. With that said, this is the conclusion of this week's lesson. If you are having any trouble, feel free to ask your advisory teacher or shoot me an email if you have anything specific that you are wondering about. Other than that, have a fabulous rest of your week, and we will meet up next week for our next lesson.